the one where the guy's calf off.
It's a little navel gazing, right?
It is, but they deserve it. There was this one time where someone was in a clear cage and a great white shark breached while a guy was in the clear cage, and he totally wrecked the... Did you see that?
It wasn't a cage. It was like I don't know the material.
It was this glass case.
Yeah.
And the shark tried to seal breach him. I'd never seen that before in my entire life. The guy narrowly escaped. I was watching it on Edibles. It was wild.
Billy's back. I'd like to know what Billy is laughing at. Something Chris just said
me
or didn't say or something.
It was me not knowing the material. I just kind of petered out. I'm like, I don't know what it's called.
It was a Flex Seal thing. It was whatever the guy...
It looks way too flimsy.
Yeah.
Like if I'm getting... My brother-in-law and sister-in-law just went to the Keys and swam with sharks, and I was assuming that they're obviously in a cage, and they weren't. Yeah. It's just a thing, and they're like, oh, the sharks are just used to us. They're used to humans.
Sharks?
Whatever, man.
Are they Australian?
They're used to people, and I'm just like, I'm cool getting in a metal cage. I would do it.
No, you wouldn't.
Billy, you were out. Did you notice that there are orcas in the Keys now?
I wasn't in the Keys, so no.
No, but it went viral on one of those.
What were they doing?
There was just a pod of orcas. And the theory is there's so many great whites now around the Florida Keys that orcas are traveling to the Keys to eat them and also take part in Fantasy Fest.
Huh. I swam with sharks.
We don't know it wasn't a vacation.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was in Epcot. Though.
Oh, me too.
I figured it was the safest place to do it because I was like, if I'm gonna not get attacked by a shark, it'll be at Epcot Center because that's where I will not. Because there's no chance that they have a shark in there that's gonna like eat you in front of children that are watching an aquarium.
At Epcot?
Yeah,
Oh,
same
yeah.
tiger sharks.
Yeah.
I've done the diving there too.
Did you do the lay down and it swims over you thing? Oh, that was
Do you know
great.
how I defied death at Epcot? My
No.
flipper fell off and I went to put it back on quickly and I sliced my hand open and I was bleeding in the Epcot tank as a sand tiger shark, which looked like a little drowsy, was passing through. And thankfully I survived. I went to, you know how they have that air pocket?
Yeah.
I went in there and I was just sucking my hand profusely.
Where they did the radio show from.
Oh, where
Fur
where
House.
Joey
Yeah.
and Uncle Jesse did the show from. We should talk some local sports, maybe?
Lords.
Here's what I want to lead off with in local sports. Miguel Cabrera ran from first to third over the
No
weekend.
way.
Yeah.
First time ever?
It's the first time in a long time. His stats are putrid, but Miguel Cabrera gave the Marlin fans something to cheer about. And Billy, welcome back. You've re-engaged. You're active in our baseball chat. And
I did not ask to be part of that.
No.
That takes up a lot of that. Like hundreds of texts a day.
Right,
Yeah.
but
How did this happen?
Imagine being in 4 group texts with Mike.
Well, but also I don't know who any of the people are. I just see phone numbers 954 this 831 whatever that, and I don't know who any. I have you, I have Chris Cody, I have Josh Appel, and that's it. I don't have anyone else saved, so I don't know
Jeremy
who anyone
Teshay's
is.
in it.
Block
but
it.
he doesn't participate.
But Billy, block it.
It's
you can block
muted.
the whole thing. Oh, muted? Good.
Yeah, I mute all my
Any
group
play.
chats.
Yeah.
I mute all my group
Mike,
chats.
Who are
there's
these
100
people?
group texts.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's Josh Appel, Chair
Yeah.
Bear, Ethan Budowski, and my friend Albert,
Albert. Okay.
my friend John Partridge. Oh, Firmo. Cowboy Carl's not in this one.
Wow.
We'll add Cowboy Carl once the Fall
Playoff
Classic rolls
starts.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's far too busy. But I saw photos of Jeff Conine with Miguel Cabrera in
Niner.
one of the pregame ceremonies.
Mr. Marlin.
And it gave me all sorts of nostalgia. It also made me a little sad because they look different, as everyone does, since 2003. But it made me want to double down on my private take that the Marlins should try to acquire Miguel Cabrera no matter how bad his stats are.
They're not terrible.
What are we doing,
How many
guys?
home runs does he
We're
have?
just what we
They
did.
just won.
What we did a few years ago with Alex Rodriguez. Now we're doing with
That
Miguel
would have
Cabrera.
been fun.
That would have been great.
That
He
would've
has
been
a
awesome.
single home run, Cabrera.
Yeah. Well,
One.
more than you.
Well, fair. I don't play baseball for a living, but that's totally fair. He's due, right, for a big second half?
He had a good weekend. I mean, he's just not the guy that's going to hit you 40 home runs anymore. You know,
Because he's 40.
Well, yeah. But here's the thing about him, and to be honest with you, I don't think I would have. He's retiring now, right? And you look at his stats, you're like, he should have retired before. Yeah, but he's making $32 million. So why would he retire?
He also had a decent start to last year when he was on that chase.
Yeah.
So he's not that far removed from being.
He was an all-star last year.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, the commissioner added him, but he was an all-star nonetheless.
On merit.
Yeah.
On
You
merit.
think they were trying to force him out? Because that's kind of what that felt like. It's like, oh, Albert Pujols is retiring, so let's make him an all-star. And oh, how do we make this fair?
Yeah.
Oh, in the American League, we'll make Miguel Cabrera an all-star. He got his 3,000 hit. He's surely to retire. And he's like, nope, I still get $32 million next year. Thank you very much. I'm going to be playing.
I kind of dig that.
I do too.
Yeah.
He got like a standing ovation anytime he did anything this weekend,
As he should have.
which is incredible. They almost had 33,000 on Saturday,
That's-
which is like great for the Marlins.
That-
They opened the upper deck. It was Venezuelan Heritage Night.
So they're starting to play a little bit better. They went on like a crazy bad streak.
Well, yeah,
and
they came out of the All-Star break and they went like 0 for 8 or
yeah,
something.
0 and
It was
8.
terrible.
Yeah.
By the way, Stugotz, your team. Whew,
The worst.
what happened?
What do you mean? What happened?
The Mets, like they just are selling everybody. They're not even going to be in a position to compete next year.
They're not even that far back in the wild card. Which
That's
is,
the thing that I don't understand.
They're 6.5 back in the wild card. They're trading Scherzer, who's 40 years old.
No,
who's
they traded him already.
Well, he's gone. Verlander's about to be gone.
they had to staple $23 million to get them to take Scherzer.
You know, they got a good prospect back. I don't mind that they're doing this. Their team's lousy. They're not in contention. I know they're 6.5 out of the wild card, but I don't mind that they're doing this. I thought the team would be better. I'm certain Stevie A. Cohen thought the team would be better, but they're not better. I call him Stevie A. Cohen because that's his name before he was the owner of the New York Mets. Now he's just Steve Cohen.
So they're going to move Verlander. Are the Marlins going to get a big fancy name out of this? Because they got David Robertson, who I've been told is the same David Robertson from when I was watching baseball about 15 years ago, the old Yankees reliever with the high Sox. I remember him being good. Is he fixing
He's a good
things?
closer.
Is he fixing things for the Marlins?
He's perfect so far.
Okay.
That's the thing about this baseball chat, Stugotz, that it's like they were breaking down that trade and complaining about that trade and then pretending to go down and know in the weeds what these two 19-year-olds that they were like in low A ball that they traded for him. Saying, like, I don't know if we should have given them. It's like, you guys do not know who these people are. Like, let's not even pretend you don't know who they are or what they did. Like, why are you complaining about
I'm
this
learning
trade?
so much through that chat. And
You're not learning anything,
Yes, I
actually.
am.
You're learning, like, things that your friends
I
are
was
saying that aren't necessarily true.
yeah. Well, I learned that David Robertson is still doing the thing.
It's still David Robertson.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's still him.
right.
And you're welcome, by the way. You may have noticed that the Immaculate Grid has moved into its own separate chat.
Did it?
Yeah.
I noticed that 2 days ago, no one knew who won a Cy Young for the White Sox because no one shared their Immaculate Grid that day.
Right.
Yeah.
It was Jack McDowell.
Lamar Hoyt.
Every day, everyone's like bragging about how they did in the Immaculate Grid. And one thing that I heard was that Chris said that everybody cheats in the Immaculate Grid. Which,
Well, no, it's just, you see, I do it most days, and it's rare to get a perfect score. Maybe I'm just not as smart with base, but it's just a lot of perfect scores showing up in this group chat.
In this group chat, every day, everyone gets a perfect score, except the day that it was like who got a Cy Young for the White Sox. And then absolutely zero people showed who they did in the Immaculate Grid that day. And I was like, yep, no one knew.
And I may have accused someone, I won't say the name.
Josh
It's
Sheets.
Josh Appel.
Josh Sheets.
But ever since I called him out for cheating, he's shown a few imperfections. He now is showing, okay, I'm not perfect.
Because he's
guys-
not cheating anymore.
You guys aren't in the Immaculate Grid chat, though. You don't. He's really on a heater right now. And I will readily admit, I cheat. I cheat in the Immaculate Grid, but you know how I cheat? I go to, like, Greatest Rockies of All Time Ranker. There's this website, this aggregate website, Ranker, that is basically just one big Best Buy ad. The pop-ups are crazy. But then I just refresh my mind. And for me, the game is, oh, I know this player exists, and then I try to guess the other teams. It doesn't show me the teams that they play for. It's just a refresher on some
like
names.
a helper more than a cheating.
Yeah,
It's
like,
just
hey, Todd Zeal, remember him? Oh, yeah, I remember all the teams that he played for. So that's how I cheat. But I will admit that I do cheat on that. In the NFL one, I don't. The NFL one, just straight off the dome. But are the Marlins going to add somebody, Billy, like somebody of
They should
note?
add Verlander. They should, right?
I mean, I guess. What are you going to do? You're going to pay him a lot of money.
How many games back are they?
Right now, they're holding one of the wild card spots.
Yeah.
They're tied. So they're a playoff team right now.
So as they were playing bad, other teams were playing
Yeah.
poorly.
Like the Giants were playing bad at the same time.
I think they're in a spot where they just stay where you're at. You
No.
don't want to give up a huge prospect for a chance that you might not make the playoffs. Just you've had a
Why?
nice
You have a
season.
shot right
Exactly.
Yeah, but do you really?
Yeah.
I mean, Chris, they've won 2 World Series by getting in as a wild, or at least one by getting in as a wild card.
Yeah,
so
but I don't think
I'm not certain what the case was in '97, but in
won
03 it was a wild card.
Nobody looks at
97
this
wild
offense and is like, man, this offense can win. Like,
Well, that's why you
they-
trade for like a bat. You get someone in there.
What
look,
about
if-
Lou Bob?
If they do it, I'm okay with it. But I'm also good with just stick with what you got. See if it. See
But
if
like,
can,
you trust development in the farm system that much that you're like, oh, we can't afford to lose that person.
I mean, the farm system's been good.
Do you resent me for adding you to that group chat?
No, I mean it's fine. I don't know who anyone is, so I'm just like, this person thinks X, Y, Z. I don't know who you are, but cool.
Yeah, you must have found the dissertation on the Dodgers and Nolan Arenado to be odd. I understand that.
I
When
mean,
you
it was
don't
unexpected too. It was just like a baby was just born, and then it's like 800 texts. Like, I had to build this chat, and I was like, oh, cool.
That guy was texting that from the World Series of Poker.
Anytime I'm in the car with my wife, she's just like, "What are these things popping up?"
Oh, you have the alerts on?
I don't get the the vibration, but like on my phone is attached to my car, so I do get the. And she's just like, "What is bunt, Gene Segura?" And I'm like, and then it's like foreplay, and I'm like, "All right, Christy, just relax, okay?"
It's a different type of foreplay. It's for.
This is one of those things that I'm like, am I a little hurt I wasn't added to any of the Immaculate
no.
Grid
No
group
is the
chats?
answer.
No.
I'm like
not,
Adam Sandler.
Thankful,
shaking your face.
actually,
I'm like,
yes.
you got to stay out as long as you can.
Definitely not adding you to
That
the
was
golf
the
chat.
second half of my
Good.
sentence.
Golfers, there's a type down here in South Florida.
Yes.
And that one's kind of a free-for-all. Can't add you there. I care too much about what you think about me. So I'm not doing that. Not adding you there.
Is she in the poop chat?
She's not in the poop chat. Do you want to be in the poop chat?
I think I'm good.
I would love to. I
need
would
some
love to
diversity
know
in
if
that
girls
I have
poop.
my own poop chat with Lee where we just text each other my dog's poops like all day.
Pictures?
Can you add me?
Wait, pictures?
Sometimes.
Why?
We'll just be like, oh, she pooped. Good to know.
Willow's here.
That's
so.
probably something that you do with a baby, right? Like you keep tabs on when they're going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know, you can go up to like almost a week before you have to bring her. Because I remember bringing my daughter in at like, she hasn't pooped in 3 days. It's like, come back when she hasn't pooped in a week.
I
A
don't think
week
that's
is
true.
not-
That is
no,
not. That's not a scientific
Who
fact.
told you this?
The doctor. You got,
Doctor,
There's no
do you-
way.
Wait, you
McGillicuddy?
actually go to
It had to be
McGillicuddy.
McGillicuddy.
You
Yes.
got it, Dr. McGillicuddy. So I'm sure a lot of people want to hear us discuss John Ruiz, and probably a fair amount of people that don't want.
Are you going to jail?
I'm not going to jail.
When I saw this story, I was like, is Mike going to get called in to testify?
Are
Is
we
he going to
going to jail?
snitch? Like,
No.
what's going to
Accomplice?
happen?
No.
Yeah, that's a thing. Like, you're part of this collective.
Accomplice, yeah.
And I immediately was like, oh, my God, like, Mike might be in trouble
I don't
here.
think this is a RICO situation.
Well,
really
then I was
don't.
trying to figure out, like,
You're okay?
is
Yeah,
he
I'm
going to,
good.
like,
Okay.
did you snitch? Did you flip? Do you
don't-
have to? Like, what's going on
You
here?
might have to, Mike.
That's what I'm saying. I think you have a family. You need to protect yourself, I
Yeah.
think.
So the narrative's gotten a little out of control, but I'm waiting till Dan returns to discuss so I can sound max defensive.
Whether or not you should flip on him is
I'm not good.
what you're waiting for,
No
Dan.
one to flip on.
Okay.
for people that didn't read the
Don't
story.
take a public stand just yet.
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
Be careful.
I saw the big.
So sure.
What
big
happened
headline.
for people that didn't read the story?
Miami Herald ran an expose, an investigative piece. It was really well done, the journalism about how LifeWallet and John Ruiz specifically might have breached some laws, and the SEC is looking into them. Not the SEC that I was worried about entering this college football season.
It was hard to see that one coming, huh?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I think, should I start being defensive now?
The upshot of it was that they're under criminal investigation.
LifeWallet.
Yes.
You're on the record. Just be careful.
Be careful, Mike.
Be careful.
Yeah. To me, it's become a University of Miami story, and I understand that. And John Ruiz made plenty of enemies, and he does deserve a public reckoning, and we'll see what the investigation turns out. For me, that kind of bothers me that it became a University of Miami story instead of a Miami story. When it's a Miami story, we've seen countless times, but I also understand why, because he was so associated through his own doing with the University of Miami. But I will say this flatly, as someone that's in the collective, like John Ruiz hasn't mattered longer than he mattered in terms of the day-to-day influence and operations of how the collective gets going.
But that doesn't matter, right? Like, it doesn't matter what percentage of NIL deals he's providing the university. It's more so like his persona and the appearance of him being deeply involved that is going to leave a scar on Miami if charges come down.
Right,
the line.
and it's exactly why we're in this predicament right now. He's made an enemy out of people that are vocal on social media, and they're enjoying their grave dancing, which I think is totally fair and in line. But I do want to say from an NIL perspective, Miami's gone a football recruiting cycle, which was highly touted and celebrated as the best in decades, a men's basketball recruiting cycle, a men's baseball recruiting cycle, a women's basketball recruiting cycle, all with the collective in the driver's seat. John Ruiz, to my knowledge, still contributes and donates some to the collective. It's not to the gaudy extent that he was doing before, but he doesn't have any more influence than any normal run-of-the-mill donor in that collective. And I think that's the misconception with the John Ruiz stuff. But I think everyone will forget the second Miami signs a 5-star, because right now the perception is Miami's this tire fire and all that. We'll also say that all of LifeWallet's NIL deals pass a rigorous NCAA approval process, and both sides of those agreements were executed.
We're getting subpoenaed.
Yep. It
What?
seems like you're not ready to flip, Mike.
Yeah.
I think people think Miami is a tire fire because they lost to Middle Tennessee State and Duke last year, and they didn't make a bowl game. And it was supposed to be like Mario Cristobal's inaugural season with Tyler Van Dyke. Like, I don't have to tell you all the reasons why you were excited for the season.
This is not
I don't
therapy
think.
either.
I think the John Ruiz aspect of it is like more of like a tacked on eye roll, because people were like, this seems sketchy, right? Like, what does this company even do? Yeah. How is he a billionaire? Something's not adding up. And now you see an investigation. It's like, okay, maybe those concerns were legitimate.
Does he owe athletes money?
No.
Like, all those deals have been paid already?
All those deals have been, I'm glad you asked, all those deals were executed. Both ends of those agreements held up their ends of the bargain, and no kids have been left with their hands out because John Ruiz bailed. That's not something that's happened.
But there were allegations in the Miami Herald story that he bought other companies and they have not received payment, upwards of tens of millions of dollars for things that he owes people a lot of money and hasn't paid them out yet.
But he's paying the kids. So.
The kids have been paid and taken care of.
That's
and
all that matters.
So all of his one-year deals, those played out to fruition and were completely upheld. I think maybe where it got a little bit murky was maybe some people were talking about year 2 extensions, and once it became obvious that he wasn't going to contribute to the degree that he was before, the collective had to step up. But the collective has been around for over a year now and has been totally in the driver's seat, and there's been people that are of legitimate influence, not just giving themselves titles, that aren't necessarily concerned with being known. They're fine in the shadows, and they're fine being the main focus. They're fine with the main focus being paying these kids what they're worth, what they deserve, and elevating the program through financial means, and not necessarily the fanfare that John Ruiz welcomed at first and is now appropriately turning against him because of what's going on. And I can't speak to all the other stuff, but I can speak to the University of Miami, and I know every kid's been taken care of.
Not overly defensive by you. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. But I also think if you've been listening to the show over the last year, I've been telling you that his association isn't what he made it out to be, and that the university, from an NIL standpoint, has prepared to. And it's not just a John Ruiz thing. When the perception is you're all in on one person, you're in huge trouble, because whether it be legalities involved or mortality involved.
That's the appearance he wanted to give.
Yeah.
It's the appearance he gave.
He wanted to be perceived as this savior, and the University of Miami and the collective was in a unique position, because even though you may know the truth, even though you may know that this person is exaggerating about their level of influence, you cannot dissuade that type of giving. You can't turn somebody away that wants to give, especially when their money is standing up to the NCAA approval process. I don't know why the University of Miami, it's incumbent upon the University of Miami to have a more rigorous approval process than the NCAA or some of the other financial institutions.
I do think that is a key question in the NIL era, though. Like, what responsibility does a university have in protecting its student athletes from being involved in companies that may, like, if this was FTX and now they're under federal investigation and you're seeing like Tom Brady get sued over his involvement, does a university have the responsibility to protect a student athlete? I hate to use that term, but a student player from doing a deal with them
Just
and then
an
putting
athlete.
themselves in legal liability. Yeah,
That's totally
an athlete
fair.
who is a student.
I think that's
Kinda.
totally fair. That point in particular, and Miami being a private institution that views itself as an institution really interested in higher learning, I think that's a totally fair question to raise when it comes to the University of Miami. The counterpoint being, if all of these deals stand up to the approval process, who are we to stand in the way of a student athlete capitalizing on their name, image, and likeness because
But does that
this
make
person's
Miami
unseemly?
liable then?
I don't think it liable. Well, certainly in this
And
discussion,
maybe not legally
liable's a loaded
liable,
word.
maybe liable in ethically
morally,
or
ethically.
morally.
Yeah, I think that's fair. At some point, the math was done. We've seen this Miami story countless times. What happened with John Ruiz, I don't think, especially on this show, took anybody by surprise. At some point, the math was done that we don't know how long this will last. We don't know the viability of LifeWallet as a brand, as a financial, as this business that is looking for sustainable growth. But we know that the money is good for right now, and whatever may come.
That's Miami.
Whatever may come, we may be fine with the optics hit. And I do think that you can navigate it easily with one signing. Look, where the John Ruiz stuff was really coming to a head, I mean, really, where Miami's collective had to mobilize maybe quicker than they anticipated, was with the Tyler Van Dyke stuff. All that stuff was, if you remember months ago, this stuff was already coming out there, and there was the perception that LifeWallet wasn't going to invest in student athletes the way that they did before. And right at that moment, Tyler Van Dyke was flirting with Alabama. Collective found a way to keep their star quarterback from going to Alabama, which is the gold standard in college football. So I would say if you're worried about things from a Miami perspective, you shouldn't necessarily. You should look at the results.
Should have let him go.
What, Tyler Van Dyke to Alabama?
Yeah.
Alabama's quarterback situation.
Well, they
it's
have
pretty
Tyler
dire.
Buckner now. They got Notre Dame's backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's reunited with Tommy Rees. Who was the
It's
quarterback?
very confusing. You have someone else's quarterback, too, don't you? Notre Dame
Sam
does.
Hartman has.
Yes. What
Wake
is going
Forest-
on?
Yeah. Sam
college
Hartman
portal.
formerly played
Yeah.
at Wake Forest. I almost said Sam Hartman has Wake Forest former quarterback. But
The Deeks.
there was a college football quarterback this past weekend, I forget who it was, who said that they were offered $1.5 million to transfer to an SEC school this past season.
To his brother.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Tully. He's the quarterback at Maryland.
I'm sure he loves being called to his brother.
Yeah, but it was helpful because it jogged my memories.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that happened this weekend. The guy in the border collie suit. There's
Colorado's
just
back in the Big 12.
so much news.
Yeah, let's wait. Let's not blow our load right now.
Hubba hubba.
It's confusing.
But
Mike,
it's-
there's a Herald story today that says his company had a total of $23.4 million in revenue in 22 and lost $402 million.
That doesn't seem sustainable. I can't look. The investigation piece that the Miami Herald did
Just
was
be
pretty
careful.
convincing.
Don't say anything too.
I can only
don't get
talk
yourself in
about.
trouble.
I love Stugotz being like, this guy seems like he might have done some fraud.
What a year for us down here, huh?
It's
Between
a good
this
one.
and FTX Arena, like I was going through my my clothes the other day, and I saw the LifeWallet shirt that they sent us when like they came and they made the big splash. I'm like, I'm going to hold on to this one, and I'm going to put this in my FTX Arena Cup that I made sure to get before they officially changed the name. Just
Splash.
because there's going to be little things that we have around here.
Yeah, you should hold on to that.
Of course.
When we got that, we knew that we should probably hold on to that, though.
It's going to be in the documentary sure.
It's not entirely surprising. And I will say, you mentioned University of Miami football and what a disappointing season last year was, but I will say, this is not a defensive John Ruiz, but John Ruiz early on before the collective got organized, along with others, Dan Lambert doesn't get nearly the same shine as John Ruiz. There are some other anonymous members. They allowed Miami to compete when it came to talent acquisition at a pretty high level before Miami got its act together. And as embarrassing as the last college football season was, I don't think Miami makes the Final Four on the men's side, nor do they make the Elite Eight on the women's side without LifeWallet and those deals that they got with Nigel Pack.
Now you're trying.
Right,
You're
exactly.
getting close to that territory you don't want to get into.
Well, I think I'm going to be honest. LifeWallet.
Don't.
What? I
Unless
mean,
you're under oath, don't be honest.
Exactly.
You don't need to be
Yes.
honest.
what
yeah.
those deals were through LifeWallet, and they were important pieces to memorable runs.
I can't wait until the feds are reading all of your Immaculate Grid group texts, like in the scene from I Think You Should Leave in court, and they're trying to piece
Thought the
together
fedora
what
looked
the poop chat is. Well, he sent a poop emoji on April 4th, but then he sent 3 more on the 5th. What does this mean?
When I die, throw my phone in Lake Okeechobee.
Is LifeWallet why the Marlins are in the hunt too?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Yeah, when I die, throw my phone into Lake Okeechobee, but also don't kick me out of any of the group chats because I want to be able to see all those texts
Sending
posthumously.
poop emojis from the grave.
So we got one defensive segment out of the way. I think I'm going to hold on the league memo Damian Lillard thing for another segment just so I can buffer my defensiveness for a little bit. And I want to talk about Jalen Ramsey's injury sustained in training camp. Got tangled up with Tyreek Hill. Now has to have surgery. And I thought that the spin from Ian Rappaport was hilarious. I don't know if you saw.
I did not see the spin. What was the spin?
Hang on. I got to pull up this original tweet because it wasn't really discussed.
I did see Joe Burrow's knee injury video this past weekend. And
It was a calf, right?
It was, yeah. So
Yes.
it was a calf, but it looked like a knee injury video, I should say. It wasn't actually a knee injury video, but I was like, oh, that's it. That's the season. It's over. And it was a video from like maybe 50 yards away. And I was just like basing my entire opinion of this medical injury off of like what a tiny like little leg
So proud
50
of you.
yards
I-
away.
I
That's
got a
what you
group.
do.
I got a
Yeah.
group chat for you, the WebMD chat.
Oh,
I
geez.
died-
I would
Christ.
love that
Dude,
one.
I diagnosed his calf strain pretty
I thought
quickly.
Lindsey Horan like tore her patella during the Netherlands game when she got fouled really hard. I'm like, oh, that's the season. She's
Yeah.
done. That's the cup.
WebMD
She
chat.
came back in and scored a goal like 5 seconds later.
WebMD chat really hasn't been able to shake off that one time Giannis got hurt in the finals because we all thought his career was over, and he came back and put up 50 like the next game. So here's a tweet from Ian Rappaport. Dolphin star did, in fact, undergo a full meniscus repair this morning, sources say, knocking him out until December. While it takes him off the field for the first half of 2023, it is the best long-term health option for Ramsey. It likely lengthens his career. See, guys? Tearing his meniscus, good for him.
It's like Tommy John for pitchers.
No. This is good for him. Arguably, the last year he can play at this position at a high level, it lengthens his career.
How long is he a Dolphin, though? I mean,
he is out till December, and the replacement they signed was Eli Apple.
oh, that's bad.
Well, they drafted Cam Smith in the second round. Dolphins fans were critical of that at the time, and now it makes sense. I don't know, man. All I know is after that Friday practice, though, a lot of reports coming out that Vic Fangio's defensive line is looking good. A lot of pressures on Tua, a lot of would-be sacks. Maybe our offensive line's bad. We'll see. Time will tell.
You're not freaking out about this Ramsey thing? This was a huge part of your offseason.
Yeah, but the D-line looks good.
Well, he's also expected back early
Wait, what
in the
was it you
season.
said about the Dolphins front seven this past week?
That they're somebody, I think it was Warren Sharp,
Yeah.
ranked them as the #1 front seven in all of football.
Wow.
And
It just takes one. I mean, just somebody to get you excited.
It got me excited. I was running around here showing everybody.
it's a
Nice.
defensive scheme
Showed
that's
me.
meant to put these corners on islands. And Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, you're feeling pretty good about that. Xavier Howard dealt with a ton of injuries last year. Ramsey, there's some talk that he may not be the same player. I'd be curious to see what kind of player he is.
This is good for his career, though. So
it
he'll
lengthens
probably
it.
be
Yeah.
better.
It's all good. It's all fine. Eli Apple got into it, has had beef with Tyreek Hill before. And Tyreek Hill did retweet the story of the Dolphins signing Eli Apple with an emoji saying practice on Monday is going to be fun.
And then he was like, but it's all love or something.
And what else is he going to say? Eli Apple stinks.
Right.
He's not good. Pac-Man Jones.
He's an
was-
By
answer.
fun, do you think Tariq Hill meant easier? Like, this is going to be an easier?
Yeah, this
Yes.
is going to be fun. Bombs
Eli
away.
Apple is an answer in the crossword, the New York Times crossword, like once a month, by the way.
He's not good.
Because I think Eli, there's 2 vowels and it's 3 letters. Those types of words get used a lot. And also apple. It's just like a blank apple from the New York Giants. That'll always be the clue.
Okay, well, he's got that to his
Little
name.
tip for you guys doing the New York Times crossword.
He's got that going for him, which is
It is a claim to
great.
fame that I would
Which
wish
is
to
about
claim
it.
at
He's
some
the
day.
second most famous Eli that's played for that franchise, so he's definitely on the medal stand when as it
The
pertains
Eli
to
medal
Eli's.
stand, yeah, for sure.
He's
Number
really
3.
bad. Pac-Man Jones celebrated the fact that he doesn't have to deal
You
with
just
him
gave him a
anymore.
bronze?
I don't know. Maybe there's another one in between there. I don't know.
Big picture, though, I really don't know what to do with my hands because it's like that we're like in pictures. I don't know what to do with my hands. The
What?
Dolphins have expectations, and I don't know what to do. I just it's so and it feels different even than last year. Last year there were expectations, but everyone with this McDaniel offense and the additions on defense and Vic Fangio, these are the highest expectations for Dolphins in what? Since like the Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas.
Right, but the Jalen Ramsey part was a huge
I feel like since last year.
slice of that equation.
Didn't you have high expectations like a year ago?
I know.
Not
that's why
like this,
I
no.
did say like last
No.
year we did have expectations, but it feels different because this year the McDaniel thing was a question mark last year, and now
Well,
it's
so
like-
was Tua. There was question marks with Tua as well, but now Tua has proven himself to be a very good
Well, there's
quarterback. Not reliable, not
Yeah, there's
healthy, but
question
very
marks
good
with-
when he plays.
There's question marks with him now. The question mark is, can he remain healthy? And an interesting part that came away from camp is, by the way, Tua is a lot better with the media now. Still pretty reserved.
he looks jacked too.
Oh, and he has a sleeve.
got that
Look,
tattoo
just
sleeve.
game
looks-
over.
But he revealed something that I didn't really see make news. I saw one of his press conferences, and he admitted to declining an invitation to appear on quarterback season 2.
Jalen Hurts has done this too. This is the thing right now. Quarterbacks saying, "Oh, I was invited to do that. I didn't want to do it." It's like, okay,
But a lot of quarterbacks are saying no.
Why is that? I feel like I would definitely want that.
There's
if
a
I was
growing,
quarterback.
there's a pretty impressive list of quarterbacks that have reportedly turned them down. I don't know if they've been asked directly or if they were just volunteering this. Tua was asked directly, and Tua has been known to be a private guy. And he saw season 1, and he said, I didn't like how much into their personal lives they went into, so that was the grounds for him turning them down.
It's actually not that surprising that Kirk Cousins wasn't their first choice. Like
How
they
do you
couldn't have
feel-
been like, "Hey, we're doing this series.
Right.
Let's get Kirk Cousins."
I mean, they went Mariota,
They
too.
must have gone. How far down do you think Kirk Cousins was for their middle of the road?
I feel
guy?
like he's.
About 15th.
I disagree. I think he's probably in like the top 10 pool of people that they think like, oh, we need a guy like Kirk, like like
How do you feel about Kirk saying that he has final say on all edits, on everything, on the
I-
product?
think that's ridiculous
Right.
That's dumb.
if that's true. Yeah.
But Omaha Productions is behind this, right? So it's made by quarterbacks for quarterbacks. I'm not exactly thrilled with that.
now I've got Peyton walking in like, "We'll take care of you, man. Don't
Yeah.
worry."
I'm
You
not
got final
surprised
say."
that the guy who got secret married last summer didn't want to be on the Netflix show where they show your family a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is a rad arm sleeve. He does look cool.
Yeah.
And Mike White looks more and more like Tony. I saw a photo of him from camp. And you're going to need Mike White to be good at some point this season because –
Well, you hope not, but
no, I mean,
you're probably going to need it.
It's just to his injury history dating back to college. There's just no way he's going to go through an entire NFL season healthy, right? If we're taking odds on this,
it seems unlikely.
Him
yes.
missing a game has to be minus 500.
What would it be to him to play a full season? What do you think you can
You
get
got to
that
have
at?
crazy plus juice on that.
Ugh.
I'd say like
Tua to start 17 games?
plus 450, something
More
like
than
that.
I think even higher.
It's improbable, but this is a season of major expectations, and I think you're kind of downplaying the Jalen Ramsey thing. I really do.
Stu's looking up to see the odds.
Oh,
He's
yes,
trying to
I
get that.
am.
Can I ask a
Very
question?
Fred
Flyer.
Williams-y territory.
I probably am. It's because we traded him in the offseason, so I haven't seen the Dolphins with him.
How Dolphins is that? Dude couldn't last one practice.
Seriously.
One practice. Your crown jewel acquisition of the offseason, and gets tangled
Had
up
no
with Tyreek
trouble
Hill.
getting to the Heat games. Every Heat game.
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
Unrelated to the Dolphins, but football related.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to think that Jonathan Taylor thing's kind of funny?
It
Because
is
I know
funny.
that we're not supposed to think that it's funny, and what they're doing to running backs is not good right now.
I think aspects of it are funny.
But the idea that you kind of go in and you demand to be traded, and they're like, oh, didn't you say you tweaked something? We're not going to pay you anything now. Is maybe a little bit
I thought
funny.
the aspect of it that was funny was Jim Irsay being like Barbie saying, "Do you ever think about dying?" He was like, "The NFL isn't gonna remember us when we die. No one's gonna remember
He
us."
seems
Like,
like
that wasn't
a-
the question.
He seems like a character, Jim Irsay.
Yeah, Mike, can you recap the Jonathan Taylor saga with Jim Irsay from this past weekend for people that maybe weren't paying attention?
So Jonathan
He
Taylor
seems like a character. We've been making fun of him for 10
Well,
years.
you know, I'm trying to be safe because
In
now,
line-
now the feds are coming to look into Mike, so we got to be
Right.
careful with what we
Good
say about
point.
everybody.
Yeah.
in line with the ongoing training camp storyline of running backs being underpaid and feeling like they're disposable. Jonathan Taylor is trying to get his, and his representation, which I believe is first round management, which has more than a few NFL employees, but they're more known as a UFC management group. So you have a person local negotiating from the MMA world directly with Jim Irsay, and it's playing out kind of how you thought. A public negotiation with Jim Irsay, there's no rule book for that. We can go to dark mortality real quick, as Jessica outlined. And Jonathan Taylor is very clearly the best player on Indianapolis's offense, and he's not getting compensated for it. We've discussed the running back thing ad nauseum, but Jim Irsay, who I do think is right in invoking when he says it's a bad faith negotiation, because they did just have a CBA get renegotiated, and now everybody wants to highlight, hey, running backs are treated unfairly. That's something running backs have been treated unfairly for 30 years, and it hasn't been a talking point in any of these negotiations because they valued other things.
Some are treated fairly, though. McCaffrey got a deal. Derrick Henry got a deal. Like some guys have,
Right,
certain
top of
guys
the
have
line.
gotten their deals.
Top of the
Right.
line, when you look at what they represent against the total yardage that offense puts out, Jonathan Taylor is very clearly in that class, though. And Jonathan Taylor now is saying that he's not at all hurt, and he doesn't know where this designation came from.
That's why this whole thing's weird, right? Because they said that he got injured, like a non-football injury, so they're going to put him on this list where you can apparently just decide what you want to pay the player when they're on it, and that could be $0, which seems to be the route that the Colts may be taking, which is another weird thing because it's all like reports. Like it's reported they may be considering doing this. He may have hurt himself working out, training for the season, but not part of the team activities, so then they could put him on this list. And then he comes out and he says, I never tweaked anything. I never had any pains. So like it's all strange because it's all reports that this may be happening, maybe not. He may have been injured. He may have not been. And we don't know what's actually going on here. But it is, you know, bad, very bad. Again,
It's
like
bad
on
for
the front.
Jonathan. It's
It's
bad for
bad
Jonathan
for running
Taylor.
backs. They shouldn't be doing this to running backs. But the idea that you come in, you're like, I want $16 million. They're like, you will get $0 now. Is maybe a little bit funny, but very bad.
Especially when you cite
And
bad
if you
faith.
die, no one will miss you. I mean,
Especially when you cite bad faith negotiations. Jim Irsay took that shot at Jonathan Taylor. Well, the Players Association this is a bad faith negotiation.
Well, this move is definitely not
Yeah,
in good
not-
faith by the Colts. Like,
Yeah,
can we
how's
just say that?
$0?
Yeah, that's definitely not good faith negotiation.
I'm trying to find the analogy. What's a job that is just not as valued in today's life as it was 10, 15 years ago? Like a paper boy or a
Co-host.
checkout person at a grocery store. I don't. It's just life has
You
changed.
don't think you're valued?
I don't know.
Life has changed, running backs. Life has
Easy
changed.
joke.
And I don't feel that bad for running backs, is what I'm trying to say.
Bad
like,
stance.
sorry,
No.
gas station attendant. We don't do that anymore. We get our own gas now. Like, it's
Bad
some
take.
jobs just
But if the
aren't as
gas
va-
station attendant is the best player on your team, then you can see why they're upset they're not making the most
You need to-
money.
You're doing the opposite of pay the teachers right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel that bad for running backs. There, I said
Bad
it.
take.
It's just
Bad
like
take.
it's like
Thank you for
you
bailing
get
me
hurt
out.
a lot.
Saquon's made $40 million throughout his career. You don't feel bad
I
for
know.
him. Right. I
Play a different
understand.
position.
Right.
What is this show today?
Our next guest, Brendan Hunt, has done a lot to grow the global game, soccer, here in the United States through his work in front of the camera and now behind a microphone. You can catch him on After the Whistle, an Apple News original podcast that Meadowlark helped put together in Season 1. Brendan and Rebecca Lowe do a phenomenal job with that podcast. It is World Cup time. Somebody remind
A little must-win, huh?
A little must-win at 3 a.m. A little must-watch at 3 a.m. too.
A little can draw, I think, also technically.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that it is the Women's World Cup, and it's going on right now because Gianni Infantino doesn't seem to know that. The FIFA president, who showed up to multiple games in a day, sometimes leaving at halftime to show up in another game for the Men's World Cup, has not really shown up to that many Women's World Cup games. In fact, I think he's taking a holiday right now. So, Brendan,
he's a busy man.
We welcome you aboard because in a few hours, you're going to be traveling to Sydney, and you're going to be watching this match between Portugal and the United States, which is hugely important, but also impossibly late for East Coasters. What are you feeling going into this
early,
trip?
really?
Yeah.
You know?
First of all, thanks for having me, and Johnny Infantino, you can go to hell. And on top of that, I won't be flying till after the USA-Portugal game, but then once, and hopefully the U.S. advances, or I will be taking a long trip for substantially less value than I had hoped. But I'm just going to be happy to be in the proper time zones to watch these games. These things are murder. 3 a.m., 6 a.m. I got a kid. This is nuts.
Yeah, if you sense the United States is not going to win that game, are you still hopping on the bird or what? I mean,
we got tickets to the zoo.
That is
can't let those go to waste. No, I'll still head down there. I mean, a couple weeks in Sydney and New Zealand with the family, that should be all right. And there'll still be good games to watch. Just, this shirt will have become meaningless.
Well, United States women's national team aside, it has been a pretty fascinating tournament in terms that it's been really unpredictable. Colombia's upset over Germany, and we can get into a little bit later in the show, their ability, that women's national team's ability to persevere over a really toxic environment has been one of the best stories of the tournament. Linda Caicedo appears to be one of the best players in the world. However, we're coming off of what many are saying is a pretty disappointing U.S. performance, and that only one substitution was made. They left points out there. They did have to battle back from down 1-0. Netherlands are a really good team. That was a rematch of a former final. But as a huge U.S. soccer supporter, were you, like most, hugely disappointed with how that game was managed?
It does seem like we had Jill Ellis on our podcast, and she mentioned this too, and bless her heart for kind of being honest about giving notes to the current regime. But one of the strengths of the U.S. team is depth, so you might as well use it at least a little bit. And to not make a single substitution except for the one at halftime just seems a little bit of a waste of resources. But could have been worse, could have lost. And at least they're in a position to run things against Portugal. But, Portugal's going to be one of those park the bus teams, and that can be very, very tough. And as we're seeing in some of these other results, anything can happen.
Were you a big soccer fan before Ted Lasso, or are you just riding this wave here and faking it?
I was not a soccer fan at all as a kid.
Right.
Growing up in Chicago, it was just, the pro sports was all I needed. But then I moved to Amsterdam to do comedy out there in 1999, and this is pre-streaming, this is pre-broadband. I couldn't just keep up with what the Bulls and Bears were doing, and Michael Jordan had just retired anyway, surely to never return, and so the door was open for soccer to come walking in, and long story short, I caught the bug hard, and it has never let me go.
In watching this tournament, we outlined the Colombian performance against Germany. New Zealand has been bounced. I think as of this morning, Canada has been bounced. What storylines are you finding most intriguing? What teams are you most surprised by?
Nigeria has been pretty damn exciting to make it through, especially since part of them making it through was getting past Canada, who are the Olympic champions and one of the powers of the game. Colombia beating Germany in the 98th minute or something. That's what Germany does to whoever they're playing. That's not supposed to happen against Germany. So all the big guns are taking beatings. And it's still going to be, all the big ones on top of the hill by the end for sure. But France was in trouble for a second. Now Brazil's in trouble because of France. But most of all, I'm super happy that Australia has made it through. Every World Cup is better when the host sticks around for as long as they possibly can. And for them to have been bounced because the best player in the world, their striker Sam Kerr, got hurt the day before the tournament was supposed to start, that would have been cruel. That would have been angry football gods for no good reason. So I'm glad I'll be going down to a country that's going to still be like up for it and into it, and feel that World Cup host country energy, because that's the rare stuff that you gotta soak in when you can.
The United States has been oddly wasteful. It's not a lack of chances that they're getting in these games. It's a lack of finishing. And to your point, their huge advantage over these other nations is the waves upon waves of unrelenting depth and talent that they can throw at teams. It's been said that a team filled with a starting 11 that didn't make the U.S. national team could advance to the knockout stages in this tournament. What is the salvo for a lack of finishing, or is it just a numbers game and they'll ascend to the mean?
I think the latter, primarily. Like enough chances eventually they got to start going in. There's some vets still on this team, from the last World Cup and the one before that. And then there's some new players. We're in the first World Cup, and hopefully some of them are just getting over, nerves or rookiness or what have you. Trinity Rodman is an amazing player, and she's up there and she still hasn't scored yet. And it's like, it feels like the dam's going to break. Like once she scores one, she's going to get, 10 in a minute. So hopefully the dam breaking is kind of what we're building toward in this Portugal game. Like this Portugal game could be 0-0, or it could be 6-0. Like there's kind of no middle ground. But yeah, like all the shots have been there. There's been statistical dominance for 2 games. There's just been no goals. And I hear tell those are important. So hopefully those are coming around.
If you were Mr. Manager for the day for this U.S.-Portugal game, who would you be starting in your starting 11 that we maybe haven't seen yet, and who would you be subbing in to maybe get some goals later on in the second half?
I think, this is not even a hot take. This is the most lukewarm of takes, but it's probably time for Rose Lavelle to start. Even if she can't go full 90, you probably got to get her out at the beginning and see how that affects the attacking chemistry of everybody. And as much as I do still believe in Trinity Rodman, she is young and she has not performed quite yet. So maybe have Lynn Williams up there. But other than that, I wouldn't want to shake things up too much because, again, they've been playing well, except for that one important detail of the ball in the onion bag, etc.
Speaking of balls and onion bags, do you have a favorite
go
goal
on.
yet of this group stage? Is it the goal in the 97th minute against Germany yesterday that we were already talking about a little bit, or do you have another one that has stood out to you?
I think it's the earlier goal for Colombia, the one that put them ahead 1-0 by Linda Caicedo that Mike was just mentioning. That thing is a rocket, and plus she has a defender in front of her and behind her, and just like doop to the right, and then it's in there from 15 yards. It's a heck of a goal. Google that.
I'm patriotic, so mine was Lindsey Horan's goal against the Netherlands, but
I am also
fine.
I am also patriotic, but I'm less patriotic at 3 a.m. in the morning. And given how much Ted Lasso has done for uplifting people's spirits during a time that we really needed it, I need you to make me feel better that if that alarm goes off at 2:58 and I decide to hit snooze, I can still feel like a patriot.
Well, I don't know. Is there anything less patriotic than the snooze button, Mike? Really? Did we
point.
snooze
Yes,
our
time
way?
zones. Time zones are
yourself
less
up by the
patriotic.
bootstraps, Mike.
Time zones are less patriotic. If time zones were patriotic, everybody would be on the same East Coast time.
We didn't snooze our way across the Delaware. We didn't snooze our way to Omaha Beach.
You snooze, you lose. Am I right, Brendan?
100%. No, I mean, they're going to play the game. I mean, 3 o'clock is so much tougher than, it's going to be midnight here. And okay, I can just about do midnight. So I have enormous sympathy for all you East Coast folk. That's a drag.
I also have a child. This is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But this is me basically wanting to be applauded for my ability to just sit down on a couch and watch soccer as opposed to playing it. But you can say more about me than you can for Johnny Infantino, who can't be bothered on his holiday to even show up to these important games. Brendan, I am curious, before we let you go, and once again, check out After the Whistle, a great podcast that he does with Rebecca Lowe, who we're huge fans of here. You represent, and that show represented so much to so many people. And I think maybe you get into some awkward situations where people are just trying to convey that to you, that you represented so much positivity in their lives that you get maybe trauma diarrhea just projected all over to you, all over you because of when your show showed up in the national discussion. How often do you have to excuse yourself from a conversation because of how much you mean to somebody and you're just some dude on a show and you have to grapple with how important you are to that person, but also you got to go make lunch?
Yeah, people are fine, especially except for when they come into my house while I'm making lunch. That part is a little too intimate and personal. I wish they wouldn't, but I leave the door open, and that's on me. People are nice, and for people to like stuff you've done enough to come up and say hi about it, that's more blessing than curse. And really, for the most part, people just want selfies. And like, I don't know what it was like in this situation in the 80s or 70s, but a selfie, if nothing else, is a very clear transaction with a very clear time limit on it. So we can all get through it together, and so just go for it. But everyone's lovely. Everyone's lovely, and it's a good position to be in.
How often does someone try to retake the selfie with you? And at that point,
they don't get a second chance.
No, they do.
Get out of here.
I don't like how I came out in
chances.
that.
Get it right the first
time.
time.
Check the selfie to see how you came out.
He grabs the phone at some point. It's like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
No, he breaks it.
I will often give a second chance because sometimes they're just straight up nervous and it's adorable. But by the third, it's like, hey, I'm sorry, you got to get out of my house now. I really shouldn't have been here in the first place. I'm about to burn this grilled cheese. Thank you for stopping by.
Also, if they have the live setting, just go to edit, hit that 2-circle thing, and I'm sure there's a good one in there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. What great technology.
It's a secret to everything. This is your first Women's World Cup that you're attending, or have you attended another one?
No, it will be the first proper Women's World Cup I've been to. Even when 99 happened, I was in Amsterdam by then. So like the whole kind of beginning of that like wave and phenomenon happening, I was very removed from. Like I remember reading about it on ESPN, but like, oh, wow, we have a Women's World Cup. How about that?
Yeah.
But I've caught up. I mean, really, it came down to in 2015, the 2015 final was the first one. I was like, all right, I'm watching this final. My family's in town. We've got shirts. We're going to the bar. We're watching the final. And Carly Lloyd comes in and scores a hat trick in the first half, including a goal from the halfway line. Like, okay, I'm late to this party, but I'm now in. I'm making arrangements. I'm buying the kegs. I'm making sure the cupcakes are all the right color. This is it for the rest of the way. And so I'm very happy to finally be getting to one. Again, hopefully the U.S. will still be in it by the time I get off.
Yeah, sincerely hope.
But Australia's there, so you're fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's your second team.
backup
for hosting.
Yes, right.
100%. I will switch horses that quick.
Yeah, we're based out of Miami, and you have like a fundamental responsibility to feel like you're part Colombian anytime they're in an international competition, just because the parties are so good. Brendan, we appreciate you taking the time. Have a safe trip out to Australia to echo Stugotz's statement and America's statement. We really hope you don't go there for nothing, and that they can win this game, or at least get a positive result at 3 a.m. Eastern. Check out his podcast, After the Whistle, with Rebecca Lowe, and some shows that we'd love to talk to you more about, but we know that there's that pesky strike thing going on, Brendan, so we appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. USA!
Yeah. Australia.
Pick a team. You can't have more.